Let's bring in Scott Galloway, professor at NYU Stern School of Business and New York Times bestselling author, as well as Jason Calacanis, founder of Inside.com and an early Uber investor. Morning, guys. Good to see you.
Morning.
We just talked to Bill Simon, of former U.S. chief at Walmart, who talked about the question of whether or not Amazon's behavior is predatory on other retail and the effect we're seeing on Walmart over time.
Well, yeah, the answer is yes. When the Chinese put steel into the U.S. market before, for less than cost, it was dumping. When Amazon does it, it's innovation. I mean, look what's happening with Whole Foods. You're about to get a Mercedes for the price of a Camry. Do you realize if you order Whole Foods to be delivered at home, it's less expensive than if you order home delivery from Kroger? Where would you rather get your groceries? So, yeah, grocery's going to bifurcate into two players. Amazon/Whole Foods at the high end, and probably Walmart. In the middle is going to be ugly for the next decade.
Jason, 15 years ago, it would have been Walmart who people would be going after antitrust-wise, saying they got all this data, that was their secret sauce. They had Randy Mott as their CIO, and they were taking over the world. Now the target's on Amazon, and Walmart looks like a deer in the woods. What do you make of this? Is Amazon really a problem, and is Walmart looking decent here with this e-commerce growth?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what Whole Foods is doing by lowering prices. They've been lowering prices 30–40%. So the whole value proposition of Walmart has been the cheapest prices, and now you look at Whole Foods is going to be the cheapest prices but the best quality. This is just absolutely too good of a deal for consumers to pass up. And a large percentage of the Whole Foods
is going to be the cheapest prices? Really?
Well, I think they're going to be pretty close. So when you start looking at 2-hour delivery in most cities and ground beef going down to $5, roast chickens now are $10. They've been cutting prices 30–40%. I don't think Amazon is going to look at Whole Foods as a moneymaker as much as part of this Amazon Prime cult, where people pay $120 a year for the privilege of shopping and getting these discounts. The consumer's going to win. And for Walmart to go buy a competitor halfway around the world and try to compete and beat Amazon there while they're getting, their butt kicked here, that seems like a crazy strategy to me. Maybe there's something going on that we don't know. I think it's also worth noting that Bill Gurley from Benchmark just put $50 million into Good Eggs, which is my favorite service that I use here in San Francisco. And so I think the high-end 2-hour delivery, beautiful packaged produce, and food is going to be the standard now. I don't know that Walmart is going to fit into that standard, and this is a place where consumers are going to win. So I don't think it's going to be an antitrust or a dumping, product at a lower price, and the government needs to get involved in this one. Amazon's still under 50% of e-commerce, and e-commerce is still a small portion of real-world commerce. But if you look at the innovation, that's what's going to win here. And Bezos and his team are so good at simplifying and innovating, and that flywheel is something that Walmart doesn't seem to be able to catch up with.
And yet, Scott, Walmart is upping its organic offerings. So is Kroger. I mean, you mentioned Kroger before. They just struck this deal with Ocado to basically start automating the pick and pack process in terms of food delivery. How does all of that and sort of the moves forward in technology play into this move to cut grocery prices?
I'm actually bullish on Walmart. I think Walmart has done the best job of any traditional retailer of getting off its heels onto its toes. I thought Jet.com was going to be the biggest write-off in retail history. It actually was a good move because for 4 to 5 quarters, Amazon's been able to report incredibly strong e-commerce growth. I would argue Walmart has its mojo back. And again, it's bifurcating into Amazon. Whole Foods will serve the upper quartile, and Walmart will serve everyone else, because Walmart has this incredible asset, these 4,500 warehouses called stores. And also the grocery at Walmart is shockingly good. The Net Promoter Scores on grocery is fantastic. The biggest story in grocery this year will be Amazon Whole Foods, because we're obsessed with it. The second biggest story operationally will be the success of click and collect from Walmart. Because if you can give someone those outstanding groceries without taking them inside a Walmart, which isn't an outstanding experience, it's accretive to the brand. And if there's a Walmart probably within 5 minutes of your drive to and from work for 50 or 60% of the U.S. population.
Well, from real goods to virtual goods. Let's move on and talk about YouTube. The Google-owned video service revamping its subscriptions, announcing a new paid music streaming service to compete against Apple, Spotify, and Pandora and others, what was formerly called Google Play Music. Actually, Google Play Music still seems to exist in some form. Also, its video subscription, YouTube Red, not sure why they called it that in the first place, is now called YouTube Premium. So you can get YouTube Music for $9.99, Jason. You can get YouTube Premium for a couple of bucks more. At the same time, Spotify's got 75 million subscribers. Apple just announced Apple Music. They've got 50 million. Is Google finally going to get this all lined up and stop confusing us with these different packages, with these different names, and put a bundle together that people are going to buy?
No. YouTube and Google are a complete disaster at simplifying. And, you know, we talked a little bit about Amazon strategy is always like to make something amazing and then simplify it, and make it easy to understand. The people at Google are incredibly smart and terrible at branding and packaging new products. So it's even more complex than you put out there. YouTube Red is now going to be called YouTube Premium. It's going to go from $10 to $12. I think you get the sequel to the Karate Kid on for that money. And then you have YouTube Music, which is sort of like YouTube's, you know, live music offerings plus Spotify. But then you also have YouTube TV. They're over-the-air packages, right? And the unbundling there. Google Music's going to be deprecated. Why don't you just call it YouTube Premium, charge me $15 and give me everything, and stop making me think. They're making people think too much. And that's what Amazon Prime does. Like, okay, give us $120 for Amazon Prime, and we'll give you everything. And this is why there needs to be a Google Prime, and there needs to be an Apple Prime. Imagine if those two companies got their acts together and said, just give us $10 a month, you get everything. But the problem is Google has been always structured as nobody's in charge. That's why we never hear from Larry Page anymore. He's never talking to us, the shareholders or the consumers. And everybody's in charge of something different, and nobody can give you a straight answer at Google. It's that obscurification of leadership over there that I think is damaging them on the product front. They got to make things simpler. And that's what Bezos has really drilled into his team, and that's why he's winning. You just get everything for $10 a month. Apple needs to copy them, and Google needs to copy them and make that the best practice.
Scott, how much of this is about music streaming and taking on a company like Spotify, and how much of it is about the video portion of it and taking on companies like Netflix or Amazon? Because for $2 more with this new subscription that they're rolling out, you get Cobra Kai plus the music.
Cobra Kai, you just came across as so much hipper. I'm not even sure. I say the term Cobra Kai and I could slip and break a hip. So, look, the answer is yes. They're going after both. Combined market cap of Netflix and Spotify, $180 billion, and all the big players want that $180 billion back. This was a good day for Spotify and Netflix because if you were to look at the incredible shift in market capitalization over the last 20 years, there are some key things. One, network effects, aging and reverse technology, but also from a brand standpoint, they've been mono brands. How many brand offerings does Netflix have? One. How many brand offerings does Spotify have? One. So when Google is over-consulted and tries to come up with a brand architecture that is confusing, it's a good day for Spotify. What's bad about it is while we're in the midst of hearing whether the government is going to restrain the acquisition of Time Warner from AT&T with 130 million phone contracts, you have Google with 2 billion pre-installed Android device distribution. So anytime Apple or Google put an offering on the most valuable real estate in the world, which is your phone, the competitors start shaking. Apple Music grew faster than Spotify last quarter with a far inferior offering because they have installed base of 1 billion iOS devices. So you always got to take anything Google, Amazon do seriously. But the brand architecture here from Jason's standpoint, textbook case study and what not to do.
All right, let's move on to Instagram. CEO Kevin Systrom confirming on Twitter last night that the social media company is going to introduce time spent features designed to let the user know how long they spent on the app. This is the latest development in the continuing conversation on tech addiction. Jason, this reminds me of New York putting the calorie count on the menu. It's not going to necessarily determine what you get to eat, but hey, here's what's in it. Is this the trend of the future, and should Facebook get credit here for pulling back the curtain a little and letting us know about ourselves?
You should give Facebook and Instagram no credit. You should not trust this company in any way. Their entire reason to exist is to addict people to something that is fundamentally unhealthy for them. The studies are pretty clear that this kind of addiction to social media leads to people having depression. You shouldn't put your kids on it. And even Facebook executive
So why not give
Sean
them credit
Parker,
for at least telling people, look, you have a
it's
problem.
window
Look
dressing.
how long you've been on Instagram.
It's window dressing. It's window dressing, and it's reactionary to the incredible bad press they have for not even checking that people are putting racist ads to try to subvert our democracy on their platform. They should be ashamed of themselves. You should not trust them. And the only sign that you should trust them will be when they give you a button one morning that says, pay $5 a month for this service with no ads and no tracking. Until they do that, they are the most untrustworthy company in the history of technology. Do not let your kids use Facebook. Do not let your kids use Instagram. It's terrible for them. Keep them off social media.
Call Zuckerberg Castro like Scott did last time.
Yeah, I love being on with Jason. I'm usually the crazy one.
We're in agreement here. Who is this guy?
This is such an unusual
I like him.
No, but he's right. Mark Zuckerberg is what you get when high schools replace civic courses with computer science courses. We don't have anyone. We have the most powerful man in the world who doesn't seem to be that concerned with the Commonwealth. The largest study on teens done every decade by Pew has shown that the number of kids who see their friends every day has been cut in half. Not as much drunk driving, that's great because of Uber, not as much unwanted pregnancy, but the reason why teens aren't having sex is because they're in the room on their Instagram feeds going into what's called an envy spiral, and depression is skyrocketing.
Envy spiral.
It's called envy spiraling, where you start, bigger, better deal, right? We all kind of have it to a certain extent, but we can sort of modulate. And be clear, Instagram, if you take the power combination of user community times engagement, Instagram is already the most powerful platform in the world.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Jason, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say the purpose of a company, any company, is to create a business that they're going to make money off of, right? I mean, why is it their responsibility to, I guess, police people and how much time they're spending on their products? I mean, shouldn't that be up to the individuals who are actually on the products?
Yeah, 100%. But as an individual who invests in companies or goes to work at a company, you need to think about what you're contributing to society and democracy and children. And if you want to go work at a tobacco company, this is the modern-day tobacco company. And, yeah, it's not as serious as cancer, but mental health is a very big issue. And Instagram has grown from, I think, 80 million 5 years ago to about 900 million monthly active users. This is a very powerful company. They don't take responsibility for what they do. And so I think what you're seeing is society saying, this company will not take responsibility for itself. So we have to have this discussion on CNBC, in Washington, D.C., and in every household about, do we want... No, it's window dressing.
Feature? I mean, it's kind of like McDonald's saying, okay, we're going to come out with, carrot sticks, apple slices instead of French fries. Yeah. We're going to give you real beef that has... I mean, you can say, yeah, it's reactionary, but it's something, isn't it? I mean, companies react to social pressure, and then maybe they get better.
There are two types of companies. Ones that are marauding and don't care about the impact they have on customers. And then there are good companies that do think proactively about the products and the impact they have on our society. And so Whole Foods is thinking, hey, we can get rid of, hormones in different, produce and fish and pesticides and everything. And they're thinking, hey, let's not have high fructose corn syrup. Facebook is the high fructose corn syrup of the digital ecosystem. Do not consume it.
Wow.
Don't use it.
The problem is...
It's terrible for you.
Well, to jump on to Benioff's tobacco thing, I mean, there's no Surgeon General that's going to write a report about mental health.
Your point is the correct one. A company's job, a key component of a capitalist system is for-profit entities, and their job is to create economic security for their stakeholders. Facebook is doing their job. The man in the mirror is the guilty party here. We're not doing our job. We're not electing people that hold these companies to the same standards that we've held every other company. When our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters started dying from tobacco, we elected officials that regulated tobacco. A better business model is for manufacturers to pour mercury into the rivers, and they will do that unless we elect officials that hold them accountable.
Bingo.
This is a failure in our citizenship, our failure in our Commonwealth, our failure in our elected officials. Facebook will continue to be a bad actor until we hold them accountable.
You know what, though? If you made $50 billion off of our beautiful capitalist and democracy here, you have a fundamental ethical and moral responsibility to defend the democracy and capitalism that made you the $50 billion.
Yeah.
But I keep last time you were here, you said I own the stock. I own the stock.
Look, I agree. Jason, you and I are brothers from another mother. I'm with you, but I'm talking about the world we live in. Jeff Bezos is going to continue to play the Commonwealth, and a man who has more wealth than the entire municipal budget of Chicago is still going to put his hand out. I do not see anything resembling the very appropriate and Commonwealth civic-like behavior that Jason is outlining from big tech. I think it is our job to step in.
Wrong. What about Apple? What about Apple protecting our privacy? Apple is protecting our privacy every day.
With you guys, we'll continue. Jason, Scott,
I like that guy.
I'm so glad.
Well, viewers are mad we never even got to Tesla. Thanks,
oh, my
Jason.
God. Let's go overtime.
Thanks, Scott. When we come back, the